Okay, let's talk about that Gen Z stare. It's a real thing, guys, and I've seen it. I've seen it out there. I'll talk about where I've seen it and stuff like that in a minute. But first of all, I want to say I'm not here to disparage an entire generation of people based on the challenges that they have. We've all had different kinds of challenges. Growing up, we didn't have this kind of challenge. I'm in my mid 30s, so I didn't even have internet at my house until like a certain point in time, whatever. In my childhood, we did get dial-up, and it's dial-up. It's not like internet today. And then I didn't have a cell phone until I think I was about to get my license, 15, 16 years old, and it was a dumb phone, a Nokia brick phone. By the way, one of the best phones ever produced. Actually, I think that phone needs a video on its own, but all it had was text, phone calls, and you could play a couple little games on there, like Snake, and whatever. There's a couple of games you could play on it, but that was basically it. And I didn't get a smartphone until probably, dude, it was after high school. I didn't have a smartphone until after high school. I don't even know if they existed. They might have existed in some form, but it was not like today where everything's just interconnected. Your social media is integrated into the device and everything like it is today. There wasn't all these apps and stuff. They just didn't exist. And and that dumb phone, the interesting thing about that was you could call and text on it, but the texts weren't free. You got like maybe 25 texts or something like that. And then after that, you had to pay for the text. So we were incentivized to, like, if I was just going to go over to your house or something, I would just call you up, be like, hey, look, I'm on my way over. I'll be about 15 minutes or whatever, right? And so you'd answer the phone and say something like, hello, or hey, what's up? That's important. And then I would be like, hey, yeah, I'm gonna be about 15 minutes or whatever, and then that would be the conversation. It could be quick, and then you could get off the phone, but we would interact with words like verbally. And today you'd probably just send a text message on the way, right? And you might even use like some kind of abbreviations for that. Anyway, so there's a big difference. It's a big difference in learning how to communicate. You would watch people, grown-ups, and I would at different places I had worked. I worked at a car lot when I was like 14, something like that. You would watch people interact. I watched somebody sell, learning how to sell things, learning how to interact with customers. All that stuff was done, and then of course you develop the way you're going to speak and the way you're going to present yourself over time. You reject some of it, you accept some of it. You say, hey, that's actually kind of cool to like be like that person when I grow up, things like that. So and then your personality is built up, and the way that you communicate is built up, and it's all interactions. Life is improvisation, right? I like that. I like interacting with people because it's improvisation. It's always like we're creating this dialogue all the time. It's a very creative process. It's very vibrant if you look at it that way. But Gen Z doesn't seem to look at it this way. And so in a way it's understandable, because, and it's not your fault, Gen Z, that you were brought up with the cell phones and the tablets, and that being the main form of communication. That's not your fault. But so what does an interaction like this look like? Well, there's actually levels to it. It's not just one stare. There's like levels to it. So for example, when I'm out door dashing, one of the things I do, I might be in a McDonald's, I might be in a Wendy's or a Taco Bell or something. These are jobs that I would expect to see a Gen Z person in right now, because these are the type of jobs you get as your first job. And there's nothing wrong with that. These aren't career jobs, Gen Z. These are not, you know that, right? They're not jobs that you would want to pay all your bills when you go to move out and you have a car payment, and you have, which you shouldn't get, you should buy cash, but whatever, this is a different conversation. When you have rent, and you have power bills, and you have to pay your phone bill, and you have to eat, and you have to do all these things, because life is not free. Nothing in life is free, really. I mean, you have to work. Freedom isn't free. So this is a whole nother conversation, right? But you see that Gen Z, they're at these jobs a lot, right? And so I'll go in and say, hey, like, I've got to order for so-and-so, right? I'm not being rude, I'm not being disrespectful. I usually wait for them to look, which is actually another part of it. Sometimes you get ignored. A lot of the employees in these restaurants and whatnot, they might ignore you. They may look up, kind of give you a little bit of that dead stare, and then just go about whatever it is they're doing, like it's more important than you and all this. And it might be, I mean, whatever. I'm just saying, like, it's from my generation and beyond, going back, people are going to see that as disrespectful. I don't know if Gen Z really means that to be disrespectful, and I think in some levels they do, and then some of them do not. So that's why I say there's levels to it, right? There's levels from benign all the way to malicious. And so in most cases, I don't know if they really know what they're doing in that regard, because they don't have a lot of this social interaction practice. Maybe they didn't actually get to see a lot of adults interact as children, because adults are actually interacting on the cell phones more and more too, you know. It's partly the parents have some degree of responsibility here in this, but you're out here, you're at this job, you know, you're doing adult things, and so now it's time to start interacting, right? And so another thing that will happen is, like, so I do get the person's attention, or the person comes up and, you know, they usually don't ask what you would like or what you need. Some do, some don't. But when they do, then you tell them. You can also be met with like a blank stare, right? Okay. Once again, could be just a lack of practice for interaction. Some Gen Z individuals have come out on the internet, since this thing is, you know, people have been talking about it, and they say something like, well, this is because you're asking stupid questions. You know, and that's true. Look, I used to work at, I've worked at all kinds of these jobs too, by the way. So I used to work at pizza shops and stuff. When somebody would come in, I'd say, hey, how you doing? What can I get for you? You know, I'd initiate the conversation. And we're talking about just a basic level of human respect. Not, I respect you as a genius person. I respect you as a great man, a great woman, whatever. Just a basic type of human respect, the lowest level that you give to everybody. And that way, so they also give it to you. It's like a mutual respect, and it's that place where you can start. And if it goes south from there, it does, or if it goes good from there, then it does. But you at least have a place where you can start. This is the basic human level of respect, right? And so, but Gen Z, and a lot of Gen Z does not seem to respect that basic level of respect, right? So some people on the internet have said stuff like, you know, oh yeah, it's because you're, you know, you're asking stupid questions. Or I've heard this too, I'm not obligated to use my vocal cords in this interaction with you for minimum wage. Okay. Well, I mean, so I have to disagree with you on that. It's not an obligation. It's like you're at work, you're at a job. You chose to come to the job. So these jobs are not the best. I get it. I've worked these jobs. But you're here. You might as well make the most of it. You're missing out on a lot not having conversations with people, by the way. Because say somebody comes in and they got like a landscaping t-shirt on. You have a right conversation with that person, you might end up with a landscaping job at the end of the day, right? Which is going to pay you more than your McDonald's job, you know, and maybe open up other doors down the road. Maybe you learn a lot there and you start your own landscaping company, and so on and so forth. And then you kind of get that freedom from the 9 to 5, which isn't really free because you end up working more than the 9 to 5. That's another video. But yeah, so I disagree with that as an excuse to act this way. But I will say that, you know, for some of them, it might be because they've never had the real interactions, you know. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments. But yeah, if you're giving the stare because you feel like you're not obligated to speak with somebody at your job, you know, to do your job, the basic interactions, or give that basic level of respect, just know, Gen Z, that you're probably not going to be given that basic level of respect either. You know what I mean? So life is reciprocal. It's improvisation. If you stare at people like that and it genuinely comes from a place of disrespect, people are going to pick up on that energy, because it's an energy exchange at the end of the day. This is why I like face-to-face interactions more than anything, is because you really get that energy exchange, and I can really feel you out where you're at. Like, you know, I can tell if you're you know, if you're not into it, like say you're not into the conversation or whatever, and you just would rather be somewhere else. Well, if I'm gonna hire you for a job and you're like that, I'm probably thinking about maybe not hiring you for that job. So just think about that, Gen Z. If you're tired of being stuck in your dead end 9 to 5 job, sometimes having that conversation may be the thing that gets you out of that dead-end job, gets you into a better situation. So I'm just trying to look out here, you know, in that regard. Because life is tough, man, and you're going to have to work. You are going to have to do something. Even if you're on social media, you're going to have to upload, you're going to have to do editing, you're going to have to figure out things, you're going to have to manage money, you're going to have to manage time, whatever. Doesn't matter what you do in life, even the things that seem easy, you're going to have to work to survive, right? So you might as well take advantage of where you're at. I would use the heck out of that job. If I was at McDonald's, you know, you're making a little bit of money, but it's not really about the money. Get the social interactions, right? Meet people, go out from there. You know, like I said, somebody comes in and they have the job you want, and it looks like they have the job that you're interested in, ask them about it, right? You never know, they might be able to hook you up with the company they're at, and now you've just upgraded. You're at least in a better situation. And if you want to escape that 9 to 5, you're gonna have to probably do it you might have to do it through 9 to 5s, but maybe getting a better job so that you can start saving, investing, and working on your own businesses and things like that. But either way, when you escape the 9 to 5, you're still gonna be working, so just know that. But anyway, I went off on a tangent there. Let me know what you think of the Gen Z stare. I think it's definitely a real thing. You know, I've seen it. I think there's a lot going on behind the scenes, but I think it's really a lot of it is because of the interaction face-to-face is not the default mode of communication that most Gen Z has had throughout most of their life. That's what it boils down to me, for the most part. The disrespect stuff or the rebellious stuff, that's another thing for another video. Believe me, I understand being, you know, rebellious at that age, especially, and, you know, kind of being anti the system and all that stuff. I understand that more than you think. And, you know, there's better ways, right? That person coming in to order a Big Mac or whatever, they're probably working hard too. The system's getting down on them just as much as it is on you. So attacking that person or being rebellious against that person, I would say is a misplaced, you know, level of rebellion, right? That person's not oppressing you. But that's just me. And some of this I understand, some of this I don't. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you're Gen Z, I'd definitely like to hear from you. If you're not Gen Z, if you've seen this Gen Z stare, what do you think about it? Yeah, let me know in the comments. I'm gonna end the video right there. I'm back, my voice is back. It was gone for a couple days, so I'll be making more videos. I'll see you guys on the next one. I'm out.